Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was born in Portland, Maine, in the year 1807. His father was a Harvard graduate, a lawyer, and a member of Congress. And his mother could trace her ancestry to the Pilgrims.
There, that's done. Where's Henry?
I don't think he's come back from school yet.
But school was dismissed hours ago.
He's probably off someplace reading or writing.
I'm worried about him. The child is off in a dream world of his own. He reads too much.
It's not that serious. I think he should be congratulated for that trait, not condemned. It shows a fine curiosity for literature.
I should prefer that he were more interested in his future profession, the study of law.
There's still time for that. After all, he's only 13.
It's never too early to start. I think perhaps I should have another talk with him.
Mother! Mother! What is it, dear?
Henry, you must have run a mile. What's the matter?
The most wonderful thing has happened, Father. Look, Mother.
Well, it's just the Portland Gazette.
Yes, but look. I just put it in the mailbox for them. I didn't think they would, but they did.
Did what? What are you talking about, Henry?
This poem. Are you saying it's yours?
Yes. They actually printed it. The first poem I've ever had published.
The Battle of Lovers Pond. Cold, cold is the north wind, and rude is the blast that sweeps like a hurricane, loudly and fast. As it moans through the tall waving pines, lone and drear, sighs a requiem sad o'er the warriors dear. I think it's beautiful, Henry.
It's nice. Very nice, son. But I wish you could be as interested in law as you are in poetry.
Yes, Father.
Henry and his brother Stephen entered Bowdoin College, where their father was a trustee. His poems became a common sight in the local newspapers, and by the time he had reached his senior year, his work had been accepted by magazines in Philadelphia and Boston.
Really, Henry, there's no sense in being obstinate. Why not try Father's way for a while? You might change your mind.
You know, I tried it, Stephen. How many months have we read law together? You can't deny that. I have tried, but I just can't become interested in law.
You would if you got those other ideas out of your head. Be sensible. You already have the job with the law firm, but where can you teach?
Here. Mr. Orr has offered me a professorship in modern languages, provided I go abroad to study.
Even so, Henry.
There's no use talking any more about it. I've made up my mind. And I'm going to write to Father now.
Maybe you're right, Henry. It's your future and your life. You know best what to do with it.
I eagerly aspire after future eminence in letters. My whole soul burns most ardently for it, and every earthly thought centers in it.
So Longfellow made his choice. After spending several years in France, Spain, Italy, and Germany preparing himself for his professorship, he returned to Bowdoin as professor of modern languages and librarian of the college.
And so, gentlemen, I hope you'll not be disappointed in our course. As an American, I wish to create a Native American poetry for our new country. As a teacher, I wish to create a taste for the poetry of all lands. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
I thought this would happen. You've forgotten our luncheon appointment.
I'm sorry. I did. These notes were on my mind.
Always working. Don't you ever stop?
Seems I never find enough time. There's so much to do. I have to finish the textbook. And then there's the translation and editing of a new foreign work. And still those essays on French, Italian, and Spanish.
Rather a full program for a man who's about to be married, don't you think? Or have you forgotten that, too?
That's one engagement I won't forget. It's 2 weeks from today. By the way, you're invited.
I knew you'd forget something. You've already invited me.
A long-standing romance was culminated when Longfellow married Mary Frances Potter, a former classmate. Although their personal life was an extremely happy one, Longfellow was gradually becoming dissatisfied with his lack of progress at Bowdoin.
Having trouble, Henry?
Just can't seem to think. I can't seem to...
Perhaps you're tired.
I don't know. That criticism on pilgrimage beyond the sea. liking it. It's a Washington Irving's work.
There was a time when you would have considered that a compliment. You always admired him so much.
Admired him, yes. But it wasn't my intention to copy him.
Everything will change if Professor Techner arranges that professorship at Harvard. I know it will.
I hope so. One thing is sure. Any change is for the better now.
It was not long before Longfellow got the change he was waiting for, the appointment to the professorship of French and Spanish at Harvard University. He once more went abroad, this time to improve his knowledge of the German and Scandinavian tongues. It was on this trip that tragedy suddenly befell him. In Rotterdam, his wife took ill and died. Grief-stricken, he immediately returned to the United States and his new position at Harvard University. In his library at Craigie House, in the very same room in which Washington planned part of the revolution, Longfellow threw himself into his work, seeking escape from the great sorrow he felt. It was here that he began to gain renown as a poet, and by the time he was 33, he had already become a personage in the world of letters. Although a studious man, he was charming and friendly, and was a familiar figure on the streets of Cambridge, well liked by everyone he met. It was on Brattle Street that he got the inspiration for a new poem, a poem that was soon to be on the lips of the world.
Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands, and the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. His hair is crisp and black and long. His face is like the tan. His brow is wet with honest sweat. He earns whate'er he can, and looks the whole world in the face, for what he owes not any man.
When he was 36, Longfellow married Frances Elizabeth Appleton. Theirs was a very happy marriage, and it was blessed with 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys. They bought Craigie House and continued to live there.
I know I'm late, but I was at the library, and time passed so quickly.
It's happened before, hasn't it?
The children, are they in bed yet?
In bed and asleep an hour ago.
They must have been troublesome about my reading to them.
I substituted for you, and I'm quite exhausted. Their appetite for your poetry is insatiable.
My most beloved critic. I know just what you were reading when baby fell asleep.
What?
Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year.
Wrong.
It was the schooner Hesperus that sailed the wintry sea. The skipper had taken his little daughter to bear him company.
Wrong again.
What was it?
Between the dark and the daylight, when the night is beginning to lower, comes a pause in the day's occupation that is known as the children's hour.
Did she like it?
Adored it.
I see my friends have arrived. I won't be too late, I promise you.
You're wrong, Hawthorne. The material of Evangeline is magnificent. Possibly, but not for me. Think of it. You could write a fine novel. What color, what beauty. The son of a blacksmith and Evangeline, and their long separation during the French and Indian War, and Evangeline always seeking him. I grant you it is interesting, but can't you picture it? When she goes to find him in the Indian woods and failing, and then after long years of wandering, she becomes a sister of mercy and recognizes this dying man as her former lover. And then the touching scene of their death. Why, it's a beautiful story. I agree with you, but I don't think I want to do it.
I think I would.
You, Longfellow?
Yes, why not? Might be an interesting experiment. Acadia, the forest. I'd like to try it.
Fine, an excellent idea. Wish you luck.
This is the forest primeval. The murmuring pines and the hemlocks bearded with moss, and in garments green, indistinct in the twilight, stand like druids of old, with voices sad and prophetic. Stand like harpers hoar, with beards that rest on their bosoms. With Evangeline, Longfellow gained new prominence. Its moral lessons of love, suffering, and patience were designed for the poetic tastes of the generation. As the years rolled by, his list of volumes grew. Voices in the Night, poems of slavery, the Spanish student, the belfry of Bruges, Cabanagh, seaside and the fireside, and more. But always interested in what he considered the true American culture, Longfellow wrote still another famous poem, weaving together the legends and traditions of the American Indian. Thus departed Hiawatha, Hiawatha the beloved. In the glory of the sunset, in the purple mists of evening, to the regions of the home wind, of the northwest wind he waded, to the islands of the blessed, to the kingdom of Purnima, to the land of the hereafter.
Come in. Henry, how are you? Pretty well, I suppose, Harrington.
You've been working as usual, I see.
There's nothing else for me to do.
Oh, don't be so gloomy. I heard just recently that your Hiawatha sold 10,000 copies in a single day in London. All the continent has been raving about your work.
That's nice to hear.
Henry, you've hurt yourself. Now, don't tell me writers have occupational hazards. I can't imagine anything worse than a splinter from a pencil. What's the matter, Henry? Has something happened?
My wife. She died last week.
No. I didn't know. Was it sudden?
It was an accident. Her clothes caught on fire. I tried to save her, but there was nothing anyone could do.
I'm terribly sorry. I just arrived from Europe. I didn't know. Is there anything I can do?
No, thank you.
If there's anything at all.
Thanks. I'll get along. I have my work and my children. Yes, I'll get along.
After his wife's death, in Longfellow's heart was loneliness. But there was some happiness, too. Happiness which he gained from his friendship with Lowell, Hawthorne, Norton, and from the meetings of the Little Dante Society. The men often gathered to discuss Longfellow's latest work, his translation of Dante's Divine Comedy. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was always at home to the famous and the unknown. People from all over the world and from every walk of life came to visit him. His interest in them never tired.
Is there anyone waiting to see me?
Really, Mr. Longfellow, wouldn't it be better if you rested for a while? There's been a steady stream since early this morning.
It's gratifying to know that people want to see me. Who's waiting?
Poor children. They said it was very important. But really, I don't see why you...
Said the men. I promise there'll be no more today.
Mr. Longfellow will see you now.
How do you do? That's a beautiful chair. Is it for me?
Yes, Mr. Longfellow. To Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, we, the children of the Cambridge schools, present this armchair to you. It is made from the chestnut wood of a tree in York Pond, the village blacksmith, and dedicated to you, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, America's greatest poet, on your 72nd birthday.
It's lovely. Truly lovely. Comfortable, too. Oh, it's a fine chair. A very fine chair. Thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you. Will you tell us a poem now, Mr. Longfellow, please?
Oh, well, of course, children. Sit down. Now, I'll recite the arrow and the song. I shot an arrow into the air, fell to earth, I knew not where. For so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight. I breathed a song into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of song? Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow still unbroke. And the song, from beginning to end, I found again in the heart of a friend.
Yes, Longfellow was known as the children's poet. His greatest pleasure was telling stories, and this is what endeared him to youngsters the world over. According to his own words, an author must naturally write from his own feelings, and perhaps that is why he is still as widely read as he was in the height of his popularity. Indeed, the place of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in the world of literature is forever secure.